You're watching Tennessee Titans Today by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Sr. Alongside me is Tom Downey. Right when the new league year hit at 4 o'clock Eastern, the Tennessee Titans pulled off a really surprising move by cutting Julio Jones, who they mortgaged draft capital for last year in a trade with the Atlanta Falcons and paid him more than $15 million in 2021. Tom, you have some of the financial implications that come along with letting go of Julio Jones. What are they?
Yeah, some erroneous information I've already seen out there on social media because, contract stuff's really confusing. Julio Jones had an $11.513 million base salary this year. They'd also restructured his deal to save a little bit of salary cap space last year. They owe him $2 million of his base salary this year. The Titans are making this what's called a post-June 1st cut, meaning they release him now, and he hits the open market right now. They do not get their money savings until after June 1st. What this does, it takes the dead money, all the money that was owed that had already been paid to Julio Jones, but had been spread over the rest of his contract. That all gets accelerated into year one right now on the contract. But post-June 1st, you spread it out over 2 years. So the Titans save $9.5 million in salary cap space this year. That will hit the books on June 2nd. That will then be used to carry over a little bit and also pay for their draft class. It leaves a $4.8 million dead cap hit total this year. That was already factored into the savings. He had a $14 million cap charge this year. Math adds up nicely. Next year, the Titans owe him $8.4 million on their salary cap. They had a 14 and change cap charge. So they saved $9.5 million this year, and we'll just round it nicely and say they save $6 million next year. Julio Jones still gets the $2 million fully guaranteed. I'm told there are no offset language on that, meaning Titans owe him that no matter what. So Julio Jones done in Tennessee as the Titans move on after just 1 year of a pretty disappointing trade result for them.
Your one-word reaction to Julio Jones being cut: shocked, surprised, waste? You let us know in the comment section down below. And this is why you subscribe to Tennessee Titans Today by Chat Sports, because Tom Downey is breaking down all of the latest cap implications with Tennessee and letting go of Julio Jones. Also, $8.4 million dead cap hit in 2023. And again, this is why you subscribe to the channel, approaching 3,000 subs. You see that link down below. That'll take you to the best Tennessee Titans news and rumors, youtube.com/Titans Today. Subscribe for multiple videos per week on the latest on the Tennessee Titans. And Tom, the overall takeaways from this, really, this is a classic example of chasing name over player. Last year, the sweepstakes for Julio Jones were on, and the idea was sexy at the time, right?
Yeah.
Julio Jones is a future Hall of Famer, and even 2 years ago, he had some level of production. You team him up with A.J. Brown, you have Derrick Henry at running back. Ryan Tannehill, with those weapons, can be a very solid quarterback, but he ends up being a bust because the injury issues once again surfaced. Only was able to put forward 31 catches, 434 yards, only a single touchdown. Didn't really flash at times either. And at the end of the day, a waste of money for Tennessee, a waste of an opportunity for them. And really, it goes down as a swing and a miss for Tennessee for last year. But moving forward, they will be able to save some money to help build the rest of that roster out.
To kind of put this in perspective, the level of falling off we've seen out of Julio Jones. Last 2 years, 19 games played, 1,205 yards total in that time frame. Only 4 touchdowns in 19 games. That is the lowest. Like, if that were one season of Julio Jones's production, that would be his lowest yards output since 2013. Yeah. That's how far Julio Jones has fallen. I had listed him as a cut candidate on our Titans channel in the past, and I'd wondered, hey, how much longer is he going to be able to play at a very high level? I guess the answer, Tennessee, is they don't think at all. And I think the market for Julio Jones is not going to be what it's been in the past. Like, this is not prime Julio Jones anymore. This is 33-year-old Julio who's always battled lower body injuries. I think that's added up, and I think Tennessee said, you know what, we're done. We're out on this guy who'd been an all-pro, at least second team, 5 straight years in a row before that. At a point, probably the best receiver in the NFL. Now, not so much.
How many Titans wins will there be in 2022? You're looking at a team in Tennessee that was the #1 seed in the AFC. Kind of quirky how standings played out in the AFC, but either way, they had home field advantage in Nashville right off Broadway. Weren't able to take advantage of it because Evan McPherson with that game-winning field goal kick in the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. But let us know, looking forward, how many wins the Titans will have in 2022. Now, with the Titans wide receiver depth chart now, you take Julio Jones out of the equation. You still have one of the most gifted wide receivers in the NFL in A.J. Brown. Other than that, though, somewhat thin, right, Tom? You concerned a little bit considering that Ryan Tannehill needs all the help that he can get?
Yeah, Chester Rogers is a free agent. Cameron Batson, I don't know if they tendered him or not. I might have missed the news on that front. Marcus Johnson's a free agent, so that leaves A.J. Brown, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, Racey McMath, and Dez Patrick, a 4th-round pick last year out of Louisville, who didn't even make the active roster to open up the year. This receiver room in Tennessee is in desperate need of help, and whether that comes through free agency and or the NFL draft, they got to keep making moves very shortly.
And you take a look at some of the other moves that Tennessee has made throughout this offseason. No major splashes, really the significant news item. Julio Jones being let go. Jeff Swaim, really a blocking tight end, comes to the Titans, re-sign on 1 year, $3.5 million. Jamarco Jones, 2 years, $5.75 million with a little more than $3 million in guarantees. Ben Jones re-signing with Tennessee, so they've really prioritized retaining some of their own players to try to continue to build that culture under Mike Vrabel, who I think is maybe the most underrated coach in the National Football League. He's going back to Tennessee on a 2-year, $14 million deal.
That's their best move so far.
That's their best move?
Yeah, Jamarco Jones will be a backup swing 7th offensive lineman. Jeff Swaim is tight end 2. Ben Jones will remain your starting center, though.
A.J. Moore signing with Tennessee from Houston. It's going to be a 1-year deal worth $2.5 million of fully guaranteed money.
Special teams impact there.
Yeah, special teams
that's what that is.
Impact. And look, it's so cliche to say, like, all 3 phases matter. You can lose games on special teams. The Titans know that better than anybody, right? Evan McPherson knocked through that field goal to win in the divisional round. So, like, coverage and kicks are huge in terms of special teams units in the National Football League. With what Tennessee has done so far, how would you grade what they have done so far in free agency? A, B, C, D, or F? You let us know. And while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe.